Welcome to Winning Every Living Day. I'm Orally Cormier, and together with Dr. Pat, we will help you to envision the life of your dreams. This is the space where women like you are inspired to believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and your ability to create a life you truly love. Together, we'll explore health and wellness, relationships, careers, and the small but powerful baby steps that lead to lasting transformation. Because no matter where you start, life is meant for joy, happiness, and abundance. Whether in vibrant health, loving connections, fulfilling work, or freedom of time and money. Here you'll learn to reflect, visualize, feel, and take action so you can manifest the life you deserve. Let's step into your power and start winning every living day together. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I am the host. My name is Orally Cormier, and today for our Winning Every because since last year we are in that fire horse energy, and July was quite significant with everything going on in the world. So I thought I'd start by sharing an example of an idea that we can create the life that we would love by believing in our dream. And 6 years ago, my daughter had grown. I was a single mom. I brought her up. Then she was 22. She was on her own, exploring the world. And I was at home, working on my business and thinking, geez, it just feels like something's missing. And what was missing was I wanted a husband. I wanted a partner. And so I prayed to God. I said, God, I don't think you brought me to this world to spend my wisdom years alone. So can you please find me a husband and just drop him in my lap for me? And and so I wrote down everything I wanted in a man, his character, that he was at a master's degree, he was a family man, he had children, he was hardworking, he was honest, on and on. And of course, he was handsome. And 3 years later, after visualizing and feeling and taking the action steps for my dream, including getting myself a coach to keep me accountable to my action steps, I manifested that man. And at first we connected through emails and then talking on the phone for about 8 months. And he said he was going to come up and see me for my birthday a couple of days after Christmas. And Christmas and my birthday came and went, and I never saw him. But I had bought him a present for Christmas, a book that I thought he would really enjoy, and I personalized it. I wrote a little message in it, and I wrapped it up with a bow and everything. And I thought, well, nobody else is going to really want this book. It's meant for Bob. I wrote this personal message in it. So I mailed it to him. And then he got in touch with me and he said that, he would come up and see me. So that first weekend when we met each other and he came up to spend, 3 days with me, I can remember him being in my house and we were talking, and all of a sudden I blurted out of my mouth, Bob, I've waited my entire life for you. And then all of a sudden I thought to myself, what did I just say? I didn't mean to say that. It wasn't, something I was thinking, but it just came blurting out of my mouth. And then I stepped back and I thought, well, it is true. I've waited my whole life for this man. He reminds me so much of my dear grandfather, who I loved so much, and I felt he loved me unconditionally. I felt so comfortable with him. And now 3 years later, I feel exactly the same way. And the good news is that a week ago, he proposed to me. So we're going to be getting married. And I'm like, oh my God, I was able to manifest my dream. So there's two things I want to tell you about this, is that it is never too late to manifest your dream. And you can have what you would love in this lifetime. And so I know if I can do it, you can do it too. So what we're learning during this time and how we can transform our lives during the current challenges in this world is I'm going to share another personal example of how we can win every living day. Because this was my dream, but you have your own dreams, and I know that you can have what you would love too. And as I spoke above, there are action steps you can take to manifest your own dream. And some of the key points to manifesting what you love is, first, figure out what it is you would love in your life. Is there anything that would light you up and ignite you and make you feel passionate about what you're doing, either in your health, your relationships, your career, your time, money, and abundance, freedom? And then secondly, there's research that documents that what we focus on can become wired into our brain. So if we're constantly focused on distress and anxiety and depression and victimhood, we will attract more of that to ourselves. But if we can rewire our brains and focus in on what we love in our life and what makes us happy and joyful and what we have fun doing, we're going to bring more of that to ourselves as well. So focus in on what you would love in your life and write that down, because that I found that incredibly helpful, just to write down what I would love. And then I put that up on my wall, or you can put it in your journal and look back and reflect on that periodically. And once you decide what you would love, then believe you deserve it, because you do. And you can have what you would love. And of course, it doesn't mean that you're going to get exactly what you would love in your life, because sometimes it wouldn't be good for us if we got exactly what we wanted. And just as an example, I will tell you that when I was in the 1990s, I lived down in Connecticut. I was working at Stanford Hospital as the clinical specialist for women's health. So I was doing half breast cancer, half GYN cancer, absolutely loved my job. And I became pregnant and I birthed my daughter, my first miracle in my life. And then I went on a 4-month maternity leave, which it was the best 4 months I ever had in my life. But during the time of my maternity leave, the hospital that I worked at had decided to buy the other hospital in town, and the two merged. So when I came back from maternity leave, then they had to figure out how they were going to merge these two hospitals and stay financially solvent. And so what they ended up doing is making some cuts. And there were a group of we nurses who were cut from their, system. And here I was, my daughter was 10 months old at the time. I had started taking courses at Yale in their oncology nurse practitioner program, as well as working at the hospital. And I absolutely loved the program at Yale. And I just couldn't believe that I was now, being cut from my job. And it meant that I was going to have to sell my house, and I was going to move back to Massachusetts, which was a good thing. I was going to be closer to my family when my daughter was young. But I would have to leave the program at Yale, and I'd have to leave a job that I really loved. But it all turned out for the best. And so that's why when we think about what our dream is, saying this or something greater still is a wonderful practice. Because what ended up happening is I'm preparing to move back to Massachusetts and find out that the University of Massachusetts in Worcester is now going to start a cancer prevention and control nurse practitioner program, because they got a federal grant to start this program. And it was phenomenal. And it was my passion my entire career. So I was like, oh, the universe has got my back. And the universe will have your back too. So keep that in mind when you envision what you would love and what your dream is, this or something greater still. Because if you don't get exactly what you want, trust that something better is planned and is there for you. And it also means that you need to work towards your goals, as they won't just happen. Keep believing, keep working towards your dream, keep taking the action steps that you need to take to get to your dream. And as you know, this year has thrown us so many curveballs. I mean, between the multiple conflicts going on in the world that are now merging with each other, the intense heat this summer, the fires, the droughts, the floods, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the um, the earthquakes that have happened and had just almost hard to believe consequences for so many people. It has been heartbreaking at times, but it also is a time where it is showing us that this is so challenging that this is going to lead us towards transformation, because we don't want to stay in this energy. We want a new and better energy. And I think as women, we can be the ones that lead this world forward to transform into a better world. So it all starts believing that we have more control over our lives than we are meant to believe, and that we are worthy and we're deserving of a wonderful life that we would love, that we can be our authentic selves, to be not only the caretakers and nurturers that society oftentimes sees us as, and we have, taken on, but we can also be the leaders. We can be the managers, the problem solvers, the peacekeepers. Oh my gosh, this world needs peacekeepers, right? And peacemakers, healers, CEOs, community builders, educators, entrepreneurs, creatives, and dare I say, even a president of the United States. And I do believe that in the next 10 to 15 years, we will see a woman president. And I think I'm going to be cheering her on. I think it's so exciting. But whatever role or position we assume, we can decide what we want to be surrounded with in a positive mindset, to focus in on an awareness of beauty and joy in our life, and happiness and fun, and to feel that we are stepping into who we be and our authentic selves in this lifetime, as well as men. Men are meant to step into their authentic selves too, but as women, we are oftentimes, seen as having a certain role within society, within the family, and yet we are the ones that can decide what we want and what we would love, and what we be in this lifetime. That we have agency over our own lives. We have agencies over our bodies and our careers, and we can dream of what we would love. We want to support all women to win every living day, focused on a dream of what they would love for their life. Sounds good, right? But it's true. And just as I manifested my dream, and I will be marrying my man soon, I'm asking you to take a deep dive into thinking about what you would love for your life, and then start creating it. The truth is, you can do the same thing when you believe in your dream, when you write it down, when you visualize it, feel it, and then take the action steps towards your dream. And be in a community of believing eyes. So what I have found in my life, and you may have found in your own life, it's much harder to do just by yourself. It's much easier to do in a community of other women, and have the support and the encouragement of other women around you who have these believing eyes for you, as well as you have believing eyes for them as well, and what they would love, what you would love. No matter what challenge you're facing at this point in your life, it starts by first and foremost being kind to yourself, being compassionate and patient with yourself, because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Now, for some people, it is going to happen overnight, but for most of us, it takes time. I know it took time for me, but be kind to yourself, have a listening ear for others, as well as they will have a listening ear with you. So that each of us can step into our dream. And one thing that I wanted to mention, I had mentioned this in the last podcast that I did a couple weeks ago, is there is a new book out that I highly recommend called Born to Flourish: How New Science and Ancient Wisdom Reveal a Simple Path to Thriving. by Richard Davidson and Cortland Dahl. This is so easy to read. It just brings me so much joy and peace and excitement to read this. But basically, Richard Davidson in 1992 went with, I believe he went with John Kabat-Zinn over to Dharamsala, India to meet the Dalai Lama. And when he did, the Dalai Lama challenged him and he said, you psychiatrists and psychologists in the West, you love to study anxiety, depression, schizophrenia. Well, how about kindness and compassion? And Richard Davidson thought to himself, how about kindness and compassion? So he came back to the United States. He was at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, that's affiliated with the medical school, and he started the Center for Healthy Minds. It is absolutely fantastic. They've done so much research, but they started by researching the super meditators, the Tibetan monks who had meditated at least 10,000 hours in their life, and they did functional MRIs on their brain, and what they found is that the area of the brain for stress management was thicker than other people, the average person, an adult in life, probably because of their meditation, which created resiliency for them. And through this work, now Richard Davidson has founded another organization called Humin, Humin, with Cortland Dahl, and they were the ones that wrote this book. But what they found is that when we are involved in things that are traumatic and distressful and harmful and hurtful, we will then focus in on those things and we bring more of that into our thinking, right? And then create more of that for ourselves. We can just go in a loop of spinning around thinking about all these negative thoughts. But if, on the other hand, we focus in on what brings us happiness and joy, and we have fun in our life, we can rewire our brains to experience more of that. Isn't that exciting? And even more exciting is they said that if we can do this with young children in the early years, in the pre-K era, in the kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, the times in a child's life when their brain is growing and developing, then we can actually build in that resilience to the stress that they're going to experience throughout their lives. Because look at what the younger generation has experienced so far in their life. For those that grew up under 9/11, that was traumatic for many people. Then there was the gun shootings in schools, and what were the other things that were spread? Oh, COVID. And then they had to go through COVID and they couldn't be with their friends and they had to do school virtually. That has all had an emotional impact on not only their being, but also their brains. So if we can help them to do some stress management, whether that's belly breathing, mindfulness meditation, kids yoga, Qigong. I love Qigong. I got involved in that about 15 years ago and it transformed my life. Or Tai Chi, or like my mom, who doesn't like any of those things, just prayer. She prays the rosary every day and goes to church every day. That keeps her nervous system calm. So we can rewire our brains. But the good news is kids, when they start young, they are wired for resiliency. And so what I want you to know is that it's never too late. I will tell you that when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I developed a panic attack and PTSD. And I didn't even know what it was. But I went to my doctor. He told me I was having a panic attack and PTSD and that I needed, I needed to calm down. And it was not easy, but I knew about John Kabat-Zinn. I started doing mindfulness meditation. And in the beginning, I would just program my phone. Okay, 20 minutes, I would have it scheduled. I would sit down, I would close my eyes, I would take deep breaths, Brahms and Ohms. And 20 minutes later, I felt exactly the same. And I'm like, okay, nothing's happened. But 12 weeks into it, all of a sudden one day, I'm finishing up my meditation for the day and I can feel my energy coming up. And it's just the most wonderful feeling of not only energy, but it's a peaceful type of energy where I just felt like I was more alive and I just felt really good inside and calm inside. And I had that aha moment like, oh my God, now I know what they're talking about. And so that gave me motivation to keep going. And that's what I want to encourage you to do is that it's not like having strep throat. You take an antibiotic, 3 days later, you're better. Your nervous system is going to take longer to heal. It's like 5 to 7 years. 5 years later, I cured myself. I have never had another panic attack again. And I am most grateful for mindfulness meditation because I was able to cure myself, and you can do the same thing. So the other thing is maximizing your support and your positive relationships in your life. Another practice we can do is just being grateful and thankful when we wake up in the morning, just saying, oh, I am so grateful to be alive, to be able to see, to hear, to get out of bed, to walk. Because some people can't. Some people aren't even going to wake up in the morning. So it's just wonderful that we all woke up this morning and we get to enjoy one more day, or taking time for this gift called life, the ability to see and hear and talk and to have friends and to be alive, to transform the feelings of grief, worry, and victimhood into reframing them into something positive, that this is something we've learned and we can now take it forward and transform our lives and help others who are going through the same thing. And trusting that these life lessons will give us greater wisdom. Realize that there are some health challenges or emotional challenges that are going to require a professional, like a counselor, a social worker, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or medication, or for some, a support group of other people that have been through the same thing can be enormously helpful. But the other thing that I want to point out, especially for we women, is that oftentimes when we get to our wisdom years, 50, 60, 70, 80, or like my mother, 90, people think of us as like grannies. We are gray haired, we're postmenopausal, we are retired. Nothing could be further from the truth. I discovered when I was 63 years old why I came to this life in the first place. And once I did, I knew that what my soul purpose was. It ignited me. And what helped me was that program at UMass. And I had to collect all the research of how we were going to prevent cancer. And what I found is if we're going to prevent cancer, we have to start in pregnancy, young childhood, and adolescence, and protect those genes and the epigenetics so they aren't impacted by the environment or diet, whether too much or too little, or toxins, or mental health challenges, those, or drugs, those can all have an effect on the epigenetics. So that really pushed me into writing a paper, getting it published, called The Precautionary Principle, Cancer Prevention Efforts During Critical Periods of Growth and Development. And once I wrote that paper, I knew with every cell in my body, this was the whole reason I came to this earth. And it ignited in me a passion that I feel like my life is just beginning. And so I need to really go out into the world and share this with the world to help others to live their best life and to help their children to live their best life. Because the truth is, what we do in this life and when we're pregnant will affect 3 or 4 generations in the future, just like what our grandparents did when they were getting pregnant affects our health in our lifetime. So with that, I would really encourage you to think about, as an older person, we are actually the wisdom grandmothers, right? Just like in the indigenous cultures. And so we have so much wisdom from our life experiences. We have so much to give the younger generations. So it's not that our life is over and we should think of ourselves just sitting in a nursing home, but we can let that experience light us up to do what we're meant to do in this life. So anyway, I have two workshops that I'd like to encourage you to join me for. And one is called Envisioning the Life That You Would Love, which is one of my favorites to do. And we always have fun when we do it. The next one is September 8th and 9th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is 4 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And it's on Zoom, so it's from the comfort of your own home. You can be eating your dinner and listening, along, but it is free, and it's 2 nights, September 8th, September 9th. And you can go to my website, orallycormier.com, just like you see on the screen here. Just, you don't put the Catherine in, but orallycormier.com all together. And you'll see at the top, there's a workshop tab, and you look at the workshops. The other workshop I want to let you know about that I would love to do, and I hope that you can come also, is called Legacy Reset, Prevention, Survivorship, and Healing. And this is a 5-week workshop. It's every Thursday starting September 16th to October 14th. Again, 7 to 8:30 p.m. each evening, Eastern time, 4 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And I would love to have you come. It's basically for people that have a personal or family history of cancer, and especially for those that are thinking about getting pregnant. But you don't have to be, deciding to get pregnant in order to come. If you have a personal or family history of cancer, this is perfect for you. And I would love to have you come. It is for 2 people. It's for a couple. So when you look at the price, it's for the couple. Either they're married or it's a single woman and her best support. And for the whole 5 weeks. So I would love to have you come. Please do. And as I said, we can reframe these challenges in our life and transform the world, because I think as women, we are meant to not only be at home and be the nurturers, but we are meant to be the leaders in this world. And this is the perfect time for us to do that and help to transform the world and bring that light to the world that it needs. So I hope you'll join me in my workshops. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email at info@orallycormier.com, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. And hope to see you then. Bye. You've been listening to the Winning Every Living Day with me, Orally Cormier, with Dr. Pat. I'm so glad you joined us on this journey of believing in yourself and taking the steps toward a life you truly love. Be sure to tune in every first Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time on Transformation Talk Radio for more inspiration, tools, and strategies to support your health, your relationships, and your dreams. And if you're ready for deeper transformation, sign up for my master classes and workshops by visiting my website, orallycormier.com. These powerful programs provide the extra support and guidance that can make an enormous impact in helping you achieve the life you've been dreaming of. Until next time, remember, you have what it takes to start winning every living day.